Tell me some of the differences you found between the USA and the UK.
In what regard?
Okay, let's start with the topic that we're discussing. You're
Mhm.
talking about intersexual
Mhm.
dynamics and relationships,
Mhm.
dating, all of that.
Mhm.
Are there some fundamental or noticeable patterns and differences you've seen?
Um, okay, this is my analysis
Okay.
of the UK versus the
Okay.
US. One, the guys dress better in the UK.
Agreed.
Yeah, like I would say overall they're more like fashiony. So do the women,
Mhm.
but I would say like the guys it's more like noticeable.
Mm.
Second thing, the girls here they still do the wild shit, but they're a little classier about it.
Okay.
That's my interpretation. And in the UK, it's different because everything closes early here.
Mhm.
So I feel like the nightlife scene is kind of different.
Okay.
Like I don't drink, so I'm not really like, you know,
You're not out there just
no, no.
in
But
the
just
streets.
yeah. Like I don't oh god. Cuz
I threw you off.
no, cuz I just from my I'm not even going to go there, but it's interesting the UK.
I feel like you had something really interesting to say and you censored yourself.
um I just feel like a lot of like the modern like mentality is similar here. I just think the girls aren't as like I would think in Miami it would be a lot easier to get girls to come on the show and like say crazy shit.
Mhm.
Even though like there's other girls that like they think the same way and have the same mentality, but they're not as like open.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So
When you talk about that mentality, what is the mentality of the modern woman? The average modern woman that you see in the US or in the UK, how would you describe that mentality?
it's like they almost hate men.
Okay.
It's like a predisposition where they just like don't they feel like they don't need men even though men built the world we live in and we literally couldn't survive without men. Like even being a single woman is a privilege because in most of like history how are you going to do that?
Mhm.
Like good luck.
And where do you think that comes from?
The hatred of men.
Yeah.
I think it's in our media. And it's kind of like, it's even in phrases we say. Like, I even said something earlier. I said, my dad knocked my mom up. And I was thinking about, like, oh, that's kind of like putting it on the man. And it's like, there's phrases like that we use all the time and you don't think twice about it. And I think that men have an innate protection, like, towards women. So,
of
like,
course,
yeah. And so you guys will give girls the benefit of the doubt. When I am a girl, so I'm like, stop it. She knows what she's doing. Like, stop it.
So where are men messing up?
I just think they put up with too much. Let her leave. Like if she's gonna treat you like that, and like let her go because she clearly doesn't want you. She like okay. I tell this to my brothers like. You know what it's like to have like most guys that have done well know what it's like to have a girl obsessed with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I just feel like you should, wait for that.
Okay.
because if she's treating you like an option you are and she's probably talking to like 10 other like stop it.
Mm-hmm. How do you think that the world of because here's something that's interesting because you're in your mid-20s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've grown up in an era where smartphones and social media have always been there during those formative years in your teens, preteens to teens, and so on.
I got mine in 8th grade.
In 8th grade, yeah. So this is something that's interesting because by the time the smartphone and social media came out, in my case, I was already in my in my 20s. So there was an era before that, even pre-internet and pre-email and all that. And so I think even with a 10-year age gap, say between someone who's 35 and 25 or 32 and 22, there's actually, because of the technology, there can be quite a chasm because when I was in school,
Mhm.
there was no smartphones. There was no social media. None of that stuff existed.
Mhm.
Even the internet was very much in its infancy. We had dial-up first of all, and it was very slow. When I was in school, it took to download a song, it took like, if you wanted to download an album back when people were using Napster
Yeah,
and
yeah,
LimeWire,
yeah.
you left it to run overnight.
I've never even heard of Napster.
Yeah, you'd never.
I don't even know what that is.
There we go, right? Generation gap. It's a peer-to-peer
Mhm.
music sharing site. This is when people, started downloading and stuff. I mean, do you know what a CD is?
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
what a
good.
CD
Okay.
is.
I've actually met people who do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, man. Am I a boomer now?
Yeah, okay, my sister said
yeah.
that. Okay,
So,
boomer.
So that's so interesting to me because I can't really, if I think back to when I was in school, whether in Saudi Arabia or in the UK in boarding school, if I think of adding smartphones and social media on top of all that teenage stuff already going on, it just sounds like an absolute nightmare. But I think that it's interesting because people who are now in their 20s, a lot of stuff that is just normal to them and standard, and I don't think they're really thinking that, there was a whole era before this, before Instagram and Snapchat and YouTube and TikTok and all these things that it's so new.
Yeah.
It's so new. So what kind of impact do you think that that's had on the perspectives of both young men and women who are growing up now and who are coming up and experiencing all this?
I think that it gasses up girls' egos.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that Instagram is like a toxic
Mm.
app. I mean, it can be. You can't. I will say, social media has changed my life for the
Yes,
better.
same.
I get to do. I love this job. I am so happy now. Like this is so fun, and I am good. Like, but I would say overall as a society, it's like been worse. And I think like girls, like we think we're hotter than we are. Because yeah. And I noticed this partially at the pickup boot camp. So I'm like, you're rejecting him, and I was like, I wonder if and I was like, yeah, but like because you can get like crazy DMs from people and girls think that these guys are actually trying to like wife her. I have brothers, so like they would humble me. You know what I mean? Shout out Austin, shout out Adam. But like, yeah, I feel like Instagram just like gasses up girls' egos and it makes men like more lonely, I guess.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think one thing that technology's done a lot. But in terms of the dating market and those dynamics, one thing is, it's done a lot. One thing it's done from the female perspective, you've already touched on this, is if you think back to even like the most beautiful girl in a town or a village in a city or in the past, right? She only had access to the men in her locality, right? So the most beautiful girl in a school or a college or whatever, there was still this limited pool. So she might get gassed up or, it could be even an average girl. She doesn't need to be beautiful. But I think that you're getting attention from the males in your local vicinity. Whereas now, a girl can be hot and have tens, hundreds of thousands, millions of potential interested males expressing interest and giving daily validation from the entire world. Right? There can be dudes in Africa, Asia, the Middle East, Europe, USA, wherever, right? And there's just, and guys are so thirsty online, right? The guys are just there messing up the game online by with their insane thirst. And it's just all there. So it's like, wow, how can this woman not have? Like, of course she has it.
This is why we got to bring back bullying.
Yeah? Tell me more.
I feel like, I feel like everyone should have a healthy amount of bullying growing up.
Agreed?
Because I think that's why people from bigger families are better than everyone else. because if I started to think too highly of myself, my older brother would humble me.
Yes.
He would tell me, you're ugly. And I'd be like, oh, this guy messaged me. Yeah, okay.
Man. Savage.
Yeah, shout out Austin. And I'm like, I just feel like it grounds you a little bit, and it doesn't. You don't get that big of an ego because like the people around you won't let you.
Yes.
But now we're afraid to be humble, and nobody can be made fun of.
Yes.
And that's what I don't like. That's why when they were making me get in trouble over my whale comments, I'm like, whales can be made fun of just like everyone else. If you want to make fun of me for being a ginger, I'll take it.
Yeah.